Hello, everyone. Happy Thursday. Welcome back to another episode of the Scarlet Edit. How's everyone's week? Well, this week, like as always, I know you guys, if you're listening on the regular, you've heard me say more than one time that these weeks are flying by. I still feel like it was New Year's Day and we blinked, and now we're at the last few days of February. This past Monday was my birthday. And I have to say, I woke up this morning and I actually missed my birthday. I woke up and I thought, gosh, that was such a wonderful birthday. And I actually miss how great the day was. So that's when you know it was a great birthday. And it wasn't that, it wasn't like this crazy, unusual day. I got up. I had coffee with the dog. I took him out. I got a great workout. I went and I attempted to do some shopping, failed. Turns out I am not built for stores like Nordstrom Rack. It was just so much to filter through and it was a little too chaotic for me. So I came home and shopped online instead. I sat by the pool and then I had a beautiful dinner with my mom and dad, and it could not have been a more perfect day. So today, here's what I want to talk about. I find it incredibly ironic that this time last year, I was struggling with how to share myself with the world. I had a podcast that I really loved. I love podcasting. I had what I thought I wanted to do business wise in addition to the podcast, but I struggled to figure out how to put myself out there. And then I had this big secret. I had this 5-year relationship that was in my past with a man who was married. And I struggled with how that part of my story that affected me so profoundly and made up so much of who I am today. I struggled with how to share that, how to incorporate that, how to make that a part of my story that mattered and that could help other women. And so I find it incredibly ironic that pretty much a year later, I'm sitting here now having similar struggles, but not because of the podcast, not because of what I've shared. I am beyond grateful for the Scarlet Edit. I am beyond grateful for everything that I've shared on this podcast, the messages that I have received from other women, the people that I have got to connect with because of the show. It's the reason why. It's the reason why I wanted to do this. I wanted to put this out there because I believe so deeply and so strongly that we are not our past choices. We are not only one decision or one part or one chapter of our lives. We are all of those parts. We are the sum of everything. And just because we made a decision in the past, it doesn't mean that we would make it again in the future. And we shouldn't be forced to carry around stigma or shame or to feel like we are not worthy or not deserved of the life and the love that we want for ourselves just because of something in our past. I believe that so incredibly strongly. And that is why this podcast exists. And that is why I have shared so much of myself on here. So I find myself in this interesting space today because I feel like despite all of that, despite having shared what some would say is probably the biggest secret I have, I still feel like I have uh, un, unknowingly and unintentionally put myself in a box. And I find myself in that box struggling really with what to share, what to post, how to hook people in. And it's just, that makes it unenjoyable. That makes it unpleasant. And it makes it feel not like me and like something else. And what I also find so crazy is like sometimes I still struggle with sharing me and who I am today and how little bits and pieces of my journey play a role in everything that makes me me today. So after a handful of conversations this week with other people that are new to me and them asking me, what is the Scarlet Edit all about? What made you start it? Why are you doing this? Why are you so passionate about it? And then a conversation this afternoon with my business coach, it really kind of clicked some more things into place for me, and it's made me feel a lot better. Um, I absolutely love podcasting. I love talking. I love sharing things. I love having conversations with people who have experience or expertise or both, or who just are intellectuals that we can sit and have conversations together and then share all of that with you. That is certainly one thing that I have been really excited about as this second season has unfolded. The people that I have lined up to share with you all, I think are so valuable and I think fit right in with what the Scarlet Edit is. So earlier this evening, I wrote a new description for the Scarlet Edit podcast. And I got tears in my eyes as it was finalized because I really feel like it encompasses me, it encompasses the show, and it encompasses what the Scarlet Edit actually means. So I'm just going to read it to all of you because um it's perfect. I was the other woman for 5 years. He was married. It wasn't the plan, but it happened. And it changed everything about how I see love, relationships, and myself. The Scarlet Edit is my podcast. I started it because I was tired of carrying my story in silence, and I knew I wasn't the only one. This is where I talk about affairs, infidelity, cheating, divorce, and starting over, without shame, without the moral lectures, and without pretending that love and relationships fit into the neat little boxes everyone wants them to. I'm Nikki Corbett. I've been the other woman. I've been divorced. I've been in the situationship that made me question everything. And now I'm on the other side of it all, figuring out what I actually want, who I am, and what love looks like when you stop performing and start being honest. Every Thursday, I share what I'm learning, what I'm living, and what I'm still figuring out. Sometimes that's a solo episode where I go deep on my own experience, falling in love with a married man, the loneliness of affairs, the grief that comes after you walk away from something that wasn't yours to keep. Sometimes it's a conversation with a guest who has been through their own version of the mess: narcissistic abuse, toxic relationships, divorce in midlife, secret relationships, or the slow process of rebuilding after everything falls apart. This show is for the woman who has been the other woman and never had a safe place to talk about it. For the woman going through a divorce she didn't see coming. For the woman stuck in a marriage that looks fine on the outside but feels dead on the inside. For the woman who is dating again after years and has no idea what she is doing. For the woman who is choosing to be alone and is learning that solo doesn't mean lonely. And for anyone who has ever been told that their story makes them less worthy of love, it doesn't. I don't have all the answers. I'm not a therapist. I'm just a woman who decided to stop being quiet about the things we're all going through, but nobody wants to say out loud. If you've ever thought, am I the only one? You're not. So pull up a chair. Let's talk about it. I got almost a little emotional there. I'm not going to lie. So that's where we're at. That's that's what's going on, and that's what feels good right now. Um I did take a look into a lot of the DMs that I have received since the show started. And with that, I made a list of a handful of topics that I could discuss and go into further depth about, because I know that infidelity and being the other woman is a curious topic. You know, I've said before, and I'll certainly say probably 100 times again, that I think the reason that there's so much curiosity around affairs is because we often don't know about them as they're happening. Even though they're happening all over the place, it's not what you put on your post. It's not what you share on your Instagram story. You don't walk into work the Thursday morning after having a really great date with the person you're having an affair with and tell all your coworkers about what you did last night. So when we hear about affairs, we usually hear about them when they're the scandal because the people involved got caught. We don't always hear about how they started, why they started, what the people were thinking, feeling, where they were in their lives. I strongly believe that affairs are a symptom. They are not the problem. There is something else going on that makes people get to a place where that's the option that they choose. And I think the more we can talk about these things, the more we can understand the people that have been involved in them, the better off we'll be. I've got messages from people who are in extremely happy, long term committed relationships. And they've said, hey, we love listening to your show because it helps us communicate differently. We have conversations about these topics that normally we wouldn't have because we don't know people that have been involved in this yet. So it's opened up a new topic of conversation for us. I've received messages from women who have said, thank God I found your show. Thank you for sharing your story because I'm in that situation right now and I know I need to leave. I've had women who have been cheated on who have said, wow, I was really skeptical about this from the beginning, but I decided to give the show a shot and I've learned some things and I've thought about some things differently. And you're not glorifying affairs. You're not saying, oh, yes, this is something so great to do. You're just sharing your experience. And I appreciate that. So I know that this is needed. I know that these conversations have value, and I am so grateful to be the one bringing them to all of you. So, thank you for being here. Thank you for coming along this journey with me. Nothing is linear. Nothing is finite. We're constantly evolving as human beings. We're constantly changing, and the things that we do are constantly changing as well. And I think that's the beauty of it all is to just fucking try. Because if you try and something doesn't work the way that you like, at least you tried and at least you know. And if you try and maybe it does work or maybe it takes on a different direction than you originally anticipated. Well, hey, cool, because now maybe you're somewhere else that you never thought you'd be. So at the end of the day, I'm just incredibly grateful. And I'm proud of myself for having the courage to put myself out here like this and have these conversations and share myself with the world. I mean, it's so wild too, because I'm single. I'm very, very, very single. And now I'm also very Googleable. So, I used when I started, I guess when I started dating after I felt I had healed enough from that relationship, I at first wasn't sure. Should I tell people that I date about this past relationship? It's certainly not something I can just keep quiet. I can't never tell them. So is it better to disclose it from the jump? Is it better to wait until this man actually likes me? And then I'm like, oh, by the way. And then maybe, he's like, oh, well, I don't want to date somebody that's had that type of past. I struggled with what to do. So I did have a period of time where I was very upfront and honest. And then what I found was happening was that I was attracting unavailable men. On paper, they had everything that I wanted. But in reality, they had everything I wanted, plus the number one thing that I don't want. They were not available. So I quickly kind of put the kibosh on that. And then I haven't really dated all that much, or I didn't really date that much. And then I decided to, sell my house and start traveling. So it's been a while. But now, hey, it's all out there. And, I have been asked, like, aren't you worried that it's going to be harder to find somebody when they understand your history? You know what? It's not something I can think about. I straight up cannot think about that because I can't change it and I wouldn't change it. And I know that whoever I end up with is going to love me for me and is going to be so grateful that I'm the woman that I am today. And that if that is one chapter in my story that helped get me here, they're going to be stoked because I'm pretty fucking great. So that's how I feel about that. And if you're listening and you've been in a similar situation, I want you to feel the exact same way about yourself because you're fucking awesome. I know it. I believe it. All right, that felt good. And this feels like a good place to stop for today. So, as always, thank you for being here. Thank you for your notes. Thank you for your messages. Please follow along the show in the podcast app. That way, every time a new episode goes live, it ends up in your queue, in your app in the morning. These episodes go live every Thursday morning, very early. So, if you're an early riser, I promise you it's in your queue before you're even awake. And thank you so much. I appreciate you more than you know. Have a wonderful day, and we'll talk to you next week.